I'm pregnant and now everyone expects me to raise this baby. My whole life flipped upside down and I just need to get this off my chest. So buckle up. This one's messy. I met Anne when I was 24, during my freshman year of college. We lived in the same dorm building, though I was a year older. We actually met at one of those super awkward mandatory RA events. You know, the kind where they shove everyone in a common room, play bad music, serve cheap punch and stale cookies, and tell you to mingle. Honestly, I only went because my roommate begged me to stop spending weekends glued to Call of Duty. That's when I saw her. Long dark hair, a smile that made my stomach drop, and legs that made me forget how to breathe. We both reached for the last edible cookie on the table, and somehow that turned into a conversation. That's when I learned something wild. We actually grew up super close to each other, just 2 blocks apart. From then on, every time we went home during breaks, I drove her. And let me tell you, spending 3 hours in a car with someone, you get to know them real quick. We spent so much time together, both at school and during those drives, that we eventually started dating. We were both really close to our families, so we told them about us pretty early on. I'd already met her parents before, just a quick hello when I dropped her off once, but they seemed nice. Her dad worked in construction, her mom was a teacher. When it was time to introduce Anne to my family, my mom went all out. New tablecloths, amazing dinner, the works. My dad, Walter, 52, was way too excited to meet her. He always had this habit of flirting when mom wasn't paying attention, but I used to shrug it off as just dad being dad. But the first thing he said when he saw Anne was, "So this is the girl who has my boy starry-eyed." My mom shot him a glare sharp enough to cut glass, but didn't say anything. I brushed it off. Anne was half his age. Surely it was harmless. After I graduated, I came back home and started working at a local factory. Not glamorous, but it paid the bills and had good benefits. I made good friends there. We'd grab drinks after shifts, complain about supervisors, the usual. My dad loved being the center of attention. At every family gathering, he'd show off his latest toy, a motorcycle, a boat, some new gadget. With his receding hairline and those tight polos to show off the gym body he didn't really have, he always told stories about his glory days. Back when I was your age, became his favorite line. My friends used to laugh at him, call him a lost cause, and honestly, they weren't wrong. Mom had been married to him for 30 years. She knew how to handle him. Anne and I lived together for 3 years before I finally proposed. I took her to the lake where we had our first real date, waited until sunset, and got down on one knee. She cried, said yes, and we immediately started planning a summer wedding. Her parents even offered to help financially, which meant more than I can put into words. Back then, I was working 10-hour shifts, daydreaming about our future together. I ignored the red flags, like how my dad started calling her all the time. At first, I thought it was sweet. He just wanted her to feel welcome. But then he started calling her instead of me. I remember one time Anne was in the shower when her phone rang. I answered it. It was my dad. He seemed surprised, almost annoyed that I'd picked up. He mumbled something about Mom's birthday present and hung up. When I told Anne about it, she acted weird. She changed the subject right away and asked what I wanted for dinner. Then about 6 months ago, she suddenly got obsessed with the gym. She'd gone with a friend before, but now it was daily. She bought new workout clothes, the really tight ones, dyed her hair blonde, even started wearing makeup on weekends. I joked once, "Do you have a secret boyfriend?" She laughed, but her face said something else. Then came the day that broke everything. One afternoon, I got off work early and came home. I heard the shower running. Weird, it was only 4:30. I called out, but she didn't answer. When she came out wrapped in a towel, she looked shocked to see me. She said she'd gone to the gym, but her gym bag wasn't there. What really got to me, though, was how she acted around my dad. In public, she'd tease him, call him old man. But when it was just the 3 of us, she got quiet, nervous. She'd laugh at his jokes, play with her hair. One Sunday, I went to help Mom with dishes. When I came back, they were sitting close looking at something on his phone. They jumped apart when I walked in. Dad quickly hid his phone, saying he was just showing her photos of the family cabin. But the way he looked at her, long stares, not quick glances, I should have known. Then came the morning everything fell apart. Anne had the day off. She made me breakfast, eggs, bacon, toast, and which was unusual but nice. I left for my 6 a.m. shift at the factory. Mid-morning, I realized I'd forgotten some papers I needed for a safety meeting. So I swung by the apartment, And that's when I saw it. My dad's silver Audi in the parking lot. I knew that car. Same dent in the rear bumper. My heart started pounding. I went upstairs, unlocked the door, and walked in. Clothes everywhere, a trail from the entrance to the bedroom. Her clothes, men's clothes, and in the middle of the pile was the tie I gave my dad for Christmas. His wallet was on the floor. I heard voices inside the room. I started recording on my phone. First the clothes on the floor, then I pushed the bedroom door open. There they were. My dad and Anne, in my bed. The image is burned into my brain. My dad saw me recording and yelled, "What are you doing? Turn that off right now!" He scrambled to cover himself. I didn't even think. Years of anger exploded and I punched him, hard. Right in the jaw. He crashed into the doorframe and yelled. But Anne, she didn't yell at him. She didn't run to me. She was worried about him. Something inside me went cold. I kept recording for another minute, then said, calm and flat, "You're no longer my father. You're dead to me. Go talk to Mom, because I will." Then I left. I grabbed my papers, walked out, drove back to work. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely start the car. My phone buzzed nonstop with calls, Anne begging me to come back, my dad demanding we talk like real men. I blocked them both. When I got back to the factory, my supervisor took one look at me and said, "You okay? You look like you've been through hell." During a break, I showed him the video. His stunned face told me everything I needed to know. This was something I could never undo. After work, I went back to the apartment. It was empty. Clothes that had been all over the floor earlier, gone, like nothing happened. I stripped the bed, sheets, pillows, blanket, shoved it all into a garbage bag. Then I started packing every single one of Anne's belongings. Clothes, personal items, anything that reminded me of her, gone. Almost 6 years together, wedding planned, dreams of kids and a house, gone in one day, and she'd been cheating on me with my own father. I couldn't stop asking myself, how long had this been going on? Since we started dating? Since I proposed? Technically, I couldn't just kick her out. The apartment was legally her residence, too. But I knew Anne. She'd avoid confrontation. As long as I stayed there, she wouldn't come back. Then I remembered the engagement ring, my grandmother's ring. My dad gave it to me when I told him I wanted to propose. "Your grandmother would have loved to see her wear it," he said. Now, just thinking about it made me sick. I texted Anne's parents. I owed them honesty. They were good people. Her dad had helped me rebuild my car transmission once. Her mom always sent me home with leftovers. My message was short. "I'm sorry to inform you, but the wedding is canceled. Anne has been cheating on me with my father. I caught them together today. I've packed her belongings. Please come pick them up." Anne's mom called immediately. At first she was defensive, saying I must be mistaken. But when I told her I had video proof, she went quiet. Then she apologized, voice breaking, and promised they'd come get her things. That night, around 9 p.m., there was a knock at my door. Anne's mom and younger brother were there. Her mom's face was streaked with tears. She just hugged me, no words. Then they loaded Anne's things into their car and left. The next day, after my shift, I finally drove to my parents' house. I knew I had to tell my mom. When I pulled up, I was relieved my dad's car wasn't there. I wasn't ready to see him again. But then my mom came storming out of the house, face red with fury. For a second, I thought maybe she was mad for me. I was wrong. She started screaming before I even got out of the car, calling me abusive, violent, a disgrace. She told me she raised me better than this. At first, I had no idea what she was talking about. Then she explained, my father had already gotten to her. He told her that the day before, Anne and I had fought. He told her I was drunk, that I hit Anne, and that when he stepped in to protect her, I punched him too. The nerve. The same man who betrayed me with my fiancée was now painting me as the villain, and my mother, always siding with him, believed him. She slapped me across the face and screamed that I was no better than the man who used to beat her. She said she was ashamed of me, that I needed help, that I should turn myself into the police. I was stunned. My own mother believed I had assaulted Anne, rather than see the truth right in front of her. That's when I finally snapped. "Mom!" I shouted. "Your precious husband is sleeping with my fiancée." That's why I hit him. "If you don't believe me, I have the video." Her expression changed instantly. She froze, stepped back, and whispered, What did you just say? I repeated myself slower this time.
Dad is sleeping with Anne. I caught them in our bed yesterday.
I have it recorded. Even then, she hesitated, until I pulled out my phone and showed her the video. I watched her face as the truth sank in. And honestly, I don't know which was worse, discovering it myself, or watching my mother's heart break as she realized what her husband had done. When the video ended, she lowered the phone. The anger in her eyes was gone, replaced with devastation. "Mom," I started, but she raised her hand. "Leave," she said quietly. "Please, just leave." So I did. As I walked back to my car, I saw tears streaming down her face. For 2 seconds, I felt sorry for her. But then I remembered her slap, her screaming, the accusations, and the sympathy vanished. She had made her choice. That night, I checked into a cheap motel. I couldn't go back to the apartment. Not yet. I turned off my phone. I couldn't handle the flood of messages. The next morning, I called my landlord. Breaking the lease would cost 3 months' rent plus the deposit. A huge financial hit, but worth every penny to get out of that cursed place. I dipped into the savings I'd set aside for the wedding. For the first time in 3 years, I called in sick to work. My boss didn't ask any questions. He just told me to take whatever time I needed. It was the only comfort in the chaos. By the afternoon, I had already signed the lease for a new apartment across town and scheduled the move for the next week. When I finally turned my phone back on, the notifications nearly crashed it. I ignored all of them, except to text my boss to confirm I'd be back the next day. Then I turned it back off. But after a few days of hiding away, I realized I couldn't just let this go. My father had to face consequences. That's when I thought of my grandfather. Arthur is wealthy beyond imagination. He built his fortune in construction during the 80s, then expanded into real estate. He lives in a mansion by the lake, collects antique cars, and is the definition of a sharp, untouchable old millionaire. My father, as an only child, was set to inherit almost everything. Grandpa had been grooming him for years to take over the family business. Technically, Dad was vice president of the company, but everyone knew he hadn't earned it. Grandpa still held all the real power, and one thing about my grandfather? He doesn't forgive betrayal, not even family. His own brother once tried to swindle him out of a huge sum of money. Grandpa cut him off completely, and for over 30 years, they never spoke again. My dad used to joke, "The old man holds grudges better than he holds liquor." But deep down, he was afraid of him. So I called Grandpa. I didn't sugarcoat it. I told him everything. At first, he didn't believe me. But when I offered to send him the video, he went quiet. After a long pause, he agreed. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. His voice was trembling, but steady. "Is this real?" "Yes," I said. There was another long silence. I could hear him trying to control his breathing. Finally, he said, "I'll take care of this." 2 days later, while I was back at work, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my cousin Matt. "Dude, you will not believe what happened at the club. Call me when you can." When I called him, he told me the whole story. At the usual veterans' breakfast, and where my dad was always present, Grandpa Arthur walked in, calm as ever, and sat at his usual table. Then, out of nowhere, he stood up and announced in a booming, commanding voice, "Many of you know my son Walter. As of now, he is disassociated from my company and all of my businesses. He has betrayed me in a way I cannot forgive. My son slept with my grandson's fiancée. A man who can betray even his own son is not someone I want representing my family or my interests." The room went silent. My father went pale. Then, without saying another word, Grandpa sat back down and finished his eggs like nothing happened. My father sat there, watching his entire reputation crumble in front of the local elite. For a man like him, that was a death sentence, socially and professionally, and Grandpa didn't stop there. True to his old school ways,
He handled everything quietly but decisively. He called his lawyer in Chicago.
within 2 days the will was rewritten, every fiduciary document updated. He changed the locks on his office, deactivated Dad's email and access cards. My father found out the hard way when he tried to use his country club membership card, and it didn't work. The manager handed him a letter stating that, at the main member's request, his membership had been revoked. When he got home, he discovered his office at my grandfather's company had been completely cleared out. 2 days later, I got a call from him. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. His voice was shaky, panicked. He begged me to talk to Grandpa, swearing it had been a mistake, just a one-time thing, that he regretted it. I cut him off. "Go to hell! You don't understand!" he shouted. "He's taking everything from me, my job, my membership. He's even changing his will." I reminded him that his behavior could never be justified. Then I ended the call and blocked him. The satisfaction I felt was indescribable. Finally, my father was paying for what he'd done. A week later, my mother called with news that wiped out any lingering doubt. "Walter moved out," she said. "I kicked him out the day after I saw the video. The divorce papers are already filed." I felt relieved, but there was more. She explained that when they married, my grandfather had insisted on a prenuptial agreement with an infidelity clause. That meant my father would walk away with nothing. The house, the cars, the savings, all stayed with my mother. "Grandpa always thinking ahead," I muttered, honestly impressed. She went on to say that my father had moved in with his brother, though he wasn't thrilled about it. "But family is family," she added. Trying to see her human side, I asked how she was doing. Her voice broke. "I'm surviving," she admitted. 30 years of marriage gone in a heartbeat. As for me, things slowly started turning around. I got promoted at the factory. I'm now a floor supervisor with a better salary, better hours, and a team that thankfully knows nothing about my personal disaster. I moved into a new apartment on the other side of town. The commute's longer, but the fresh start was worth it. My relationship with my grandfather has grown stronger. We see each other regularly, and he's honestly an incredible man. His stories never get old. He even gave me what would have been my wedding fund, telling me to invest it in my future. At 25, my life looks nothing like I imagined, but I know one thing for sure. I will never become my father. Edit. Thank you all for the support and awards. I never thought writing this would bring me more karma than I'd seen in 3 years of silence. Honestly, sharing this has been weirdly therapeutic. Edit 2. Please stop asking to see the video. I'm already traumatized enough. The last thing I need is to become the distributor of explicit material. Update. Life just keeps throwing curveballs. Since finding out about the betrayal, the fallout has been relentless. My father has practically been banished from the city. He lost his vice president position, his country club membership, and nearly all of his business friends. The divorce wrapped up quickly thanks to the prenup. He got absolutely nothing. No house, no cars, no savings. Last I heard, he's working at a convenience store and living in a rundown studio apartment. I ran into him at a gas station recently. He looked like he'd aged 20 years overnight. Gray hair, worn out, just broken. He tried to talk to me, but I walked away. Maybe someday we'll talk, but not now. Meanwhile, my mom sold the house, bought a condo downtown, and we're slowly rebuilding our relationship. It still hurts how fast she believed I was abusive, but at least we're trying. As for Anne, she moved back in with her parents. She keeps trying to reach out, saying she made a mistake. Every time she calls, I change my number and block her. Then, 2 weeks ago, she called again, crying, saying she's pregnant and doesn't know if the baby is mine or my father's. I told her straight, I will never take responsibility for raising a child who might be my half-brother. I warned her that if she kept harassing me, I'd take legal action. Then I blocked her again. Now, life is finally stabilizing. The promotion, the new hours, the distance from the chaos, all of it has helped. The new apartment feels like the clean break I needed. Most importantly, my grandfather continues to be my rock. His support has been the one constant keeping me grounded, and thanks to the wedding fund he gave me, I'm building my future, not dwelling on the past. At 25, life isn't what I thought it would be, but at least I know one thing for certain: I'll never be the man my father turned out to be.